Daily Wire had slid into my DMs and they were like, we want to do a show. And I was terrified. And I almost didn't even send in a tape. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. My mom, she basically like grabs my throat. The statistics actually show now that homeschoolers test higher. They're being recruited by Ivy Leagues, all this stuff. If your parents are doing it right. You're not going to be in one class with the same group of kids who are the same age.
Yeah.
When I started homeschooling, I lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee. There was one co-op and it was weird. Very, very odd, really, really small. And my mom was like, this is not going to be your people. We're going to do our own thing. So she basically created this program for me. She designed the curriculum. She took all these books from, classical education, had me in basically every single extracurricular under the sun. I was dancing, I was in gymnastics, I was singing. That makes the difference between the homeschoolers that are the stereotypes and the ones that break through those is that we were highly socialized in a very dynamic and intentional way.
Brett Cooper, welcome to my channel.
I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah. I just have to say, you were the first interview that I ever did right after starting comment section.
Oh, that's funny.
I know. So this is like a whole new, it's like we're repeating history.
Oh my gosh. I'm so happy. I'm so honored about that. That's really fun.
Yeah.
You had such huge amounts of success with the comment section. It was crazy watching that. Like, I think we did the interview and you were almost at 1 million or you had hit 1 million. And then like the next time I checked, you were at 3.
It was like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really, really honored. And it was so much fun. It was like a rocket ship taking off those 3 years. And especially the first 5 months. And I think, because I looked at your episode recently when we were planning this, and I think I was like around 700,000 or something. And it was just like, it was the most fun team. It was so like nimble and flexible because we were doing something so new, especially at the company because we were kind of like trying something out and even seeing if it would work and stick. And it was just so much fun.
Oh, that's great. Okay. You have a new YouTube channel.
Yes, I do.
I'm going to link it below, but what's it called? Just so we can get that out of the way now.
It is called Brett Cooper. A lot of people found it when it was Be Brett Cooper, but we actually just got it changed with YouTube. So it'll be just Brett Cooper.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's just my name, which is cool. It's not a show anymore. It's just me.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Can you tell me like what your plan is?
Yeah.
Are you going to do farm stuff?
I wish. Okay. I'm going to do some of it. And that's like, I posted a community post right after launching the channel. And I was like, we have free reign now, guys. Like, we can do whatever you want. Like, I'm excited. And so many of the comments were like, okay, yes, like, we like you for culture and politics, but like, are you going to like let us meet the cow? So we're definitely going to do some of that. And I'm really excited about that. And that's obviously like a huge part of my life these days. So I'm excited to incorporate more lifestyle stuff. But yeah, this whole new chapter, I'm really excited. And I'm so grateful that so many people are already following me over to the new channel and the new platforms. But yeah, it's going to be a challenge for sure because it's, we're rebuilding, but also it's like, that's what I loved about starting comment section. I love building something. I'm definitely somebody that loves taking on new things and loves creating something. And I was just kind of itching for something new.
I know. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to living on a farm first. 'Cause this is what I'm curious about.
Okay.
Why did you decide that's what you wanted to do?
I've wanted to do that for years. So I grew up half in Tennessee and half in Los Angeles because I was acting. But we always lived on land, but never had animals. And my mom, from the time that she was like 13 years old, always wanted to have a farm. So I was raised by this woman who was like craving that lifestyle and that experience. And it just like never happened, and kids and moving, and my dad didn't want it. And her first husband was like definitely against it. And so when my parents got divorced, she moved to Idaho and started her homestead. It was like her like next chapter. She's like finally getting what she's wanted for, 50 plus years. So I grew up in that environment. And because of that, we were like super engaged in our agricultural community. And we had friends that had ranches and rode horses from a really young age. And we had really good friends in Kentucky that had a Highland cattle farm. So I was always around that and really gravitated towards it just because it felt so grounded and tangible compared to a lot of the things in my life. I think growing up in a very turbulent household, just with this, I have a brother with schizophrenia and I have a brother that passed away at a very young age. And I was moving around a lot because of acting, and it was like having those activities and literally just being outside felt so like you couldn't take that away from me. And I've just always wanted it. My mom buying her farm a few years ago really solidified that because I loved being there with her. So
Has she seen your new place?
Yes,
Does she love it?
She loves it. Yeah, she's actually moving literally down the road.
Oh my gosh.
I know, it's amazing. So she's selling her like dream homestead in Idaho and moving here. The weekend that we got married, she literally drove around the area and like knocked on people's doors and was like, I like your farm. I like your farm. Like, would you sell it to me? She's like a ballsy woman. But I'm so excited. I mean, my husband's whole family is near us in Tennessee. And my dad is nearby, but my mom was kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And, you know, she heard marriage and future kids. And she was like packing up the bags. I'm going to be there to babysit. Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah. So we're going to have farms near each other.
Wow. Do you have somebody to help with the animals?
Yes.
So you hired someone to take care of the animals? I was
well,
like, if I ever do this, you're not like taking care of the cows yourself.
No, I am. But it's like when we're out of
them?
town, we have like, so right now we have an amazing farmhand who like is coming daily and checking on their water and like dropping hay and that kind of stuff. But like during the week, it's just me. And if we need like extra help on projects, then we'll have one of these guys come out and they're able to like help Alex with stuff that like I can't do or we can't do alone. But yeah, it's like the two of us. It's so much fun.
So are you milking cows?
We don't have any milk cows. So no, okay. That's what my mom does. We have what will be beef cows. It's future steaks for you.
That's my my kind of cow.
And then we're raising pigs. We'll have pork, and then we have 10 chickens and 4 ducks.
So you're set for the end of the world.
Basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
If you guys aren't on Peterson Academy, you're missing out. There are over 25 8-hour courses on there from people like Vervaeke, Michael Malice, Keith Campbell. My dad has 3 8-hour courses out now, including Nietzsche, Sermon on the Mount, and Intro to Personality, which is excellent. Brian Keating's on there. David Eagleman on brain plasticity just came out, which I love. Go to petersonacademy.com and come in and see what it's like. We have a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can poke around the website, look at the courses, and get a refund if you want, no strings attached. Any age is welcome. The courses are university level. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
It's amazing. It's like, it is such a nice contrast from the rest of my life because it's so public. It's so digital. Like, especially because comment section was completely revolving around social media and trends and news. It was so fast paced and it's just like chaos in the political, like cultural world, whatever this weird industry is that we're in. Like, it's just crazy all the time. It was so freeing to be able to drive home on a literal dirt road and come back to some place that is so quiet, like so normal, detached from everything. We're in the middle of nowhere. And it was like, okay, I'm like, my nervous system is like regulated now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really, really grateful for it.
I get that. I kind of had the same experience. I always liked living downtown. When I was a kid, I was like, if I don't live near a Chinatown that has 24-hour Chinese food, I don't want to live in that city. Which obviously changed, my diet changed and everything, but that's like, it needs to be like that much of a city and I want to live right downtown. And then when things got crazy, I was like, it's a bit hard on the nervous system.
It is.
If you're already bombarded from a bunch of other angles, it's like, maybe not. Not that I live on a farm.
I couldn't breathe ever. And it was interesting because I moved to a new part of Nashville early last year and then only lived there for a few months and then had to go to Budapest to shoot the Pendragon cycle for Daily Wire. And so then I went from like living in the city in Nashville to literally living in the city in Budapest, not having a car, living in an apartment. And it was just like, it was so much fun. And I felt like I finally got to live my, like study abroad dreams that I didn't get to do because of COVID. But I was so overstimulated and we actually bought the farm sight unseen while I was in Budapest. And we like saw it on Zillow and I was like, we should just like go look at it. Like, that's just like fun. And so Alex flew home and went and looked at it and he called me and he said, okay, I'm sorry, we have to buy this. I was like, wait, what? Like, I'm not even there. And he said, no, we're gonna buy this. So,
that's so cool.
Yeah, it was a really, like, I came back from living in like major city for 5 months to being on like tens of acres just in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you don't find that it's isolating at all because you get enough stimulation elsewhere?
Yeah.
Or are you just kind of used to that atmosphere from your, mom talking about it? Or I feel like if I was on a farm, I don't know, I'd go stark raving mad.
Yeah. I think it's a mixture of both. So I was born on Orcas Island in Washington State, which a lot of people don't know, but we had land out there. I mean, it's super remote, super quiet. So I lived there when I was younger. And then in Tennessee, where I grew up, we also lived on like 6 acres, very, very like removed area.
Okay.
So I was raised in areas that were very quiet, and that's definitely where I find like my peacefulness. But no, I also think that we've been very intentional about building community at this new place, because when you live in a city, it's very easy to like just run out and go to dinner, or like see people and go out for a drink or do whatever. And we removed ourselves and realized, okay, this is not convenient anymore. We're not just going to run into people. We can't, say, hey, can we just go like meet you for 5 minutes and get a drink, whatever. So we've had to be very thoughtful with, how we cultivate that community and bringing our friends out and hosting all the time. We want to make sure it's a place where people, want to come and spend time with us. So I think we've done a good job of that. And we're like hosting all these dinner parties, having people out at the farm.
Nice.
So we definitely have made an effort. And I think because of that, we have not really felt any negative removal. I think.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I think my husband was more worried about it than I was, because he used to live in New York City and definitely more of a city person.
It's a bit of a change.
Yeah. But he loves it. I think he like shocked him how like peaceful he is, and how he was like, this is actually, exactly what I needed.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I get that. So he has no background in like cow farming.
No, not at all.
But he's doing it.
He's doing it now.
Wow.
He loves me very much.
Oh, that's so cool.
He started listening to Alex Jones a few years ago and was like, okay, yep, we need to be prepared. And then I was like, well, then obviously we need cows. And he was like, oh, okay, I think that makes sense. And I was like, here's the farm. We're going to buy it. He's all bought in. So it was great.
Did you have to, I'm going to get in the weeds here. Did you have to purchase the cows separately, or did some of them come with the farm?
No, yeah, we bought them all separately.
Okay.
So the people that we bought the place from were not farming it whatsoever. They just wanted a bunch of land. So we've had to literally, like from ground zero, like design where all the pastures are going to be, fence everything.
Oh, wow.
Put it, like renovate the barns, do all of that stuff. And then I bought the cows on Facebook and Craigslist.
That's amazing.
It's like, and it's so weird.
And you can just buy a cow?
Yeah.
Is there paperwork or anything? Or do you
if they're registered, so you need to like change, hands on the registration. So like our pigs are registered. They're fancy pigs. So we had to get our registration, handed over to us. But yeah, it's been a whole adventure. It's like so much fun.
I believe that. I believe that. Okay, married life. You weren't married last time we spoke.
Yeah.
And you got married.
Mm-hmm.
How's that going?
It's literally the greatest thing in my life.
Yes.
It's like, I was thinking about this just a couple of weeks ago, but on both sides of the political aisle, I was told that getting married is like the worst thing you could do for your career. It's settling down, it's holding you back. I heard that from people I grew up with acting in Hollywood, where I would talk about wanting to be a mom and wanting to be a wife. And they're like, oh my God, you're going to sacrifice everything.
Was it getting married that was the problem, or was it like having kids?
Both.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was like, even just getting married is like, okay, well now you're like settled down and now people won't like you as much because you're married.
Oh yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did not give a rat's ass, obviously. I was like, you're not going to tell me what to do. And I love this person and I believe in the institution of marriage. And I also found somebody who makes me better every day. And I think that's the most important thing. It's like, I've never felt more ambitious. I've never felt braver than when I'm with him. And it's like he takes all the parts of me that need strengthening and just amplifies them.
Oh, yay.
And so it's just like you feel like a superhero. And so it's very like, that's the number one thing I would tell like young women is like, look for that person who's like a real partner in everything. And that's him. So it's been just incredible.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. I like, it is. I always thought, I think I was scared of it too. And I mean, I had a bad experience. So that didn't help. But I think it's sometimes hard to find people that actually make you into a better person.
It is.
Rather than, especially if you're very driven or something. Yeah. And then it's like,
and if
you're doing too much. Like, and then there's always it's just kind of like, you're holding me back.
Yeah.
This
and
isn't
I also
working.
think it's complicated as somebody who is conservative and definitely more traditional, but obviously has a career and works and is successful. It took a lot to find somebody that was like masculine enough to like stop me in my tracks and was not going to be a doormat for me, because I'm definitely like, I can steamroll through people. And it was so impressive to me that he was like not intimidated in the slightest, would like call me out on my BS, will do that every day, which I need, and would debate me. Like that was the greatest thing. Like I would come home from work and we would be able to like talk through everything that I was, talking about on the show or reading about, and he's like a voracious reader and a voracious podcast listener and just like learning about the world every day and just has such a curiosity, and having somebody that was like this like mental sparring partner of sorts. Yeah. It was, I think, difficult to find that, and I'm so grateful. I feel like I lucked out. I mean, I got married so young. I was like, I'm not letting you go. Like, this is perfect. But yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I'm really
no, that
lucky.
does sound like you got lucky, I think.
For sure.
I had a hard time finding that.
I know.
Otherwise,
it's hard.
You just steamroll people. And then you feel kind of bad, but also disgusted.
I
felt bad too. Yeah, not feminine at all.
No.
And then like guilty, but also like irritated and disgusted.
Yeah.
It's like,
and you don't want that in like a romantic situation whatsoever. It's like I would already
and
feel
now
that.
I'm turned on.
Yeah,
that was stimulating. Thank you.
Exactly. But it's hard. And I think the feminine side of it was something I hadn't experienced. And so that was what was so shocking to me. Because I was always like more of a tomboy. Obviously, I have a farm. I hang out with cows all day. And I have 3 older brothers. And I, again, have a career. I'm like very outspoken and had never felt like taken care of in that way or even like allowed to feel that. Mm-hmm. And I'd always had my guard up. And I didn't even think that was in the realm of possibilities for me. I was like, I'm just not a feminine person. And then you meet that person that brings out that side of you and gives you the protection and the space to be that way. It was like really special.
I had the exact same experience. Mm-hmm. That was the same thing. Like a career, also like able to debate, outspoken, and then, like masculine, basically. Yeah. In conversation and things, and guarded. Yep. Which I was just like, okay, that's just like how I'm going to be. Yeah. I guess, which is fine. Mm-hmm. I was also okay. I got cut to the point because I was 29 when I finally met Jordan. Mm-hmm. And at that point I was like, I'm fine being, it is better being alone than with somebody who. Well,
I met you when I don't think you were dating Jordan yet. Maybe you were, maybe it was like the very early stages, but I mean, even just as a friend and a viewer of seeing your transformation over the past couple of years, even just like professionally, because what you guys have done together is so remarkable.
Thank you.
Truly. And it's like you look so happy and the work you're doing is incredible. And I think it's such a testament to the way you work together and the way you complement each other. So it's like,
thank you. I appreciate that. It's made a huge difference. It's like, this is great. Yeah. I didn't know that this is like something that could happen. Yeah. That's what you hear about though. I think people just have a hard time. I think I had a hard time being picky enough, but you have to meet a lot of people too.
For sure.
Or I didn't know what I was looking for or something. It might have been that, or maybe I was stupider than you when I was younger. Seriously, that's like a huge possibility. That's probably what was going on.
It's hard to like draw your lines in the sand and
what's important, what's not important if you don't have very much experience. That was hard for me.
Exactly. I think it was helpful because being so public, especially, I was talking about my values 24/7 and talking about my principles. And I think that really forced me to like take that into dating in an even more severe way. Cause it was like, I'm a public figure now. I'm very in tune with my values and what I want and what I believe in. It's like at the forefront of my mind and what I talk about all the time. So I credit that to a lot of how I approached like starting this relationship with Alex, because it was totally different than how I dated in college. And I really didn't date a lot. I would say I dated, like I went on dates, but I was not in relationships. But it was very lackadaisical, very like emotionally driven rather than being like, this makes sense. This is like everything is in line and the emotions and the affection, the attraction is there, but it's like, it's the puzzle pieces came together and I was so aware of that. Yeah. Where before it would like, wasn't even looking really for that. It was like in the back of my mind.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Changed.
Do you have recommendations? I know people are getting like, it seems, I don't know if I'm going to pull like a conservative sphere, but it seems like people are more attracted to the idea of getting married young, which is good. Yeah. Do you have recommendations for girls and how to choose a partner?
Oh gosh. I mean, again, going back to what we were just saying, I think that you find the person who makes you better in every way, whatever that looks like for you. I also think it's this dance of knowing that you both fit into each other's lives. There was this balance for me because my mom used to say like, I don't want you to date until you're 30. And that's what she always said growing up. And then she flipped right as I moved to Nashville and she was like, the world's getting crazy. You need to find like a good man. And I was like, wait, I thought I wasn't allowed to date until I'm 30. And at that point, she gave me some more nuance. She was like, okay, that was probably a little bit too intense. But she was like, I wanted you to know yourself. Like, that's the most important thing. You know yourself and you know your values, most importantly, and what you want and where you see your life going. And obviously, you can't choose how your life turns out, but kind of knowing a roadmap of the lifestyle that you want for yourself, the way you want to raise kids, whether you want to homeschool or not homeschool, whatever that looks like, some of those big core things, have those identified before you enter into any serious relationship. Because if you can't have those conversations from the get-go, you're just wasting your time. And that's the thing that I hate most is people, like, especially women, wasting your precious time and energy and your precious years if you want to be a mom on people who are not even in line with your life. And maybe there's like all of those good feelings of infatuation, but it's like that only gets you so far if you're not able to have those conversations and be very clear about how you both fit into this puzzle.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. And you just have to be so clear. And I think the other thing too, and this is more to people who are like, oh, you're getting married too young. It's like, you do have to know where your life is going and what you want, but you also have to be flexible and be excited about growing together. And once you have those core values, then it's like wherever your ship is taking you, it's going to be sort of in line with where you want to go. And it might not be exactly what you thought of our life now is definitely not what I thought our life would be 3 years ago, like when I met Alex, but it's in line with our values. And so it's not surprising and it's not like shocking or bad or like, oh, this is not good because it's not what I wanted. It's like, this is better than what I wanted because we did it together. We built it together. So yeah, I guess that's my very broad advice.
That was good.
Yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it did, like you doing all this public talking, even just on YouTube, maybe that did help you figure out what you wanted.
It was like hammered in.
Yeah.
Which was, I think, really, really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. So did you guys have the conversations like, when do you want to have kids? How fast are we going to get married? How are we going to raise our kids? Did you have them super early on?
Yes. It was not like we're sitting down and having a meeting about it, but yeah, we're both very intense people and very forward people. And we were serious about the relationship very early on. Like Alex was like, I want to be a husband. I want to be a father. I don't date like
that's
willy-nilly.
So nice to hear.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I was literally shocked.
Yeah.
And it was so refreshing. And he had never had a girlfriend before me. Like he had dated, he'll be so offended. He had a girlfriend in middle school. But he is like the most selective person with his time and energy. And so he would go on dates very similar to me and would go on dates and be like, okay, this is not the right person. But because he brought those conversations to the table very early on, so he was able to go like, all right, in line, not in line, don't even want to waste my time. Mm-hmm. And then he would rather, focus on himself and his career. And so I think with the two of us, it just flowed naturally because it was like, okay, we both see this as serious. We have these intentions, this is where we want our individual lives to go. So those conversations were very easy to have and it wasn't like awkward or weird. But yeah, we had those, like 2 or 3 months in. But even before we had them, I had like a gut feeling. I was like, this is the person. And then those like conversations evolved over those next 3 months as we kind of figured it out.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. I wonder if that's just the type of person that does that. I had a similar experience with Jordan. Mm-hmm. But at that time, I was also like jaded and was like, I'm going to be alone forever. I'm fine with it, whatever. At least I'm not in a
I'm going to be really clear. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just like, this is like, here's all the bad stuff. And like, is that fine? Yeah. Because if it's not, it's fine. But like, it's there. Yeah. And then, serious conversations very early.
Yeah. And I'm sure, and I mean, you had your daughter coming into it too, so that just adds a level of complexity.
That kind of wipes away a lot of the like, ooh, this is going to be absolutely perfect at the beginning. It's just like, no, there's some serious things going on right now. Yeah. So we need to get that out of the way. Otherwise, like, I have no interest.
Yeah. And It's impressive when he's willing to jump in and just face that head on and not be deterred by it or intimidated by it.
Yeah, I was a bit worried at the beginning because I told him all these things. He was like, that's fine. It's like...
Oh, it's terrifying.
Do you know what you're talking about? Because are you sure? Because I'm not even sure it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a very quintessential family, and I love them to death because they're not what I grew up with at all. Parents in love, married, siblings are all alive. Like they're all like well-adjusted. Yeah. Like very well-adjusted and so normal. And I literally sobbed the night before I met them because I was so uncomfortable and terrified because I was like, I am damaged goods. and had never felt that way before because I had just never been faced with such normalcy, and I desperately wanted to impress them and be like, I'm not like corrupting your son with my like
that's so funny. I had almost the exact same experience with Jordan's family. It's same. Parents are together. My parents are together. But like normal.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think I've met a normal family. This is crazy. Like growing up in downtown Toronto, it's like, I think there was one family in my neighborhood that I kind of knew that we considered normal. Everybody else had serious problems. And I was like, that's just what families are like.
Yeah.
And then met his family and I was like, no one hates each other?
I didn't know how to operate within that framework. I think that was the thing that was so intense. I was like, what do I do? He was like, you're just going to meet my parents. I'm like,
yeah.
But it's insane how our brains wire us that way. But he was so wonderful and like holding my hand through that, and also just not being fazed by it at all. Of just like I don't care. Like, you can be nervous, you can cry about it, it's fine, but you're gonna go meet them and it's great and it's normal. So that was refreshing, to say the least.
Jordan dropped me off in his house with his sisters and then disappeared for like 3 hours. I almost murdered him the next day. Luckily, his sisters are amazing. But I was like, you can't just do that. Where did you go? It's kind of hanging out with my brother. I was like, okay, I'm sure this was no big deal for you, but it was a little bit of a big deal for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's funny. If you're the type of person who on occasion likes to partake in a few alcoholic beverages, but also you don't want to wreak havoc on your body and you're health conscious, you should have my hangover supplement After Party at your house, available at all times. It's made of dihydromycin, no fillers, just pure dihydromycin, which helps break down acetaldehyde, which is what ethanol, alcohol, converts into in your body that poisons you, damages your organs, damages your brain when you drink. It's not the ethanol that feels fun that's the issue exactly. It's what it breaks down into that damages your brain and organs. If you could break down that poison faster, wouldn't you? I cannot explain over an ad how well this works. So if you do try it, you can get a 30-day money-back guarantee if you buy through fullerhealth.com. You can also buy it through Amazon, super fast shipping. But if you want the money-back guarantee through Amazon, you need to email us through the website to get it. So don't take my word for it. Read the reviews, try it. fullerhealth.com or After Party on Amazon. Okay, kids.
Yeah, I know.
Do you have a plan?
We sort of do. We definitely want them sooner rather than later, and it's definitely not something that we're pushing off. We've talked a lot about, how we want that to look. I think, it's been a big part of us transitioning our careers. He came from the corporate world, and when we got married, completely flipped his life upside down, and he started his business. He's totally independent now. He controls his schedule, totally flexible.
That's amazing.
He comes with me everywhere, which is just fantastic, and is more successful than ever and happier than ever. So it was like, he took a big risk and a big swing, and it panned out, and it's, supporting me, but it's also done incredible things for him, which is great. And that was a lot of my thought process of this next chapter of, I have a great appreciation for how my mom raised us, and she was incredibly focused, incredibly dedicated. She worked and had different projects and jobs throughout our childhood, and she was, starting all these organizations and running all these different things. It was incredibly impressive and had a huge career prior to having kids. But we were involved in all of that, and it was all by her design, and she ran all of that so that her children could still be the center of her life. And for her, being a mom was, it was a career for her, and she saw everything else as like amplifying that. And I think, Alex's mom did a very, very similar thing. So we were raised by women that made their careers around their children, and by default had even better careers and became even more successful because they were independent and they started businesses. And so, I think that has been, for the last year, that's what we've been trying to work on, just so that we can have that flexibility. Because I want to homeschool. I was homeschooled, and it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me, and I think completely formed who I am as a person and a thinker and an academic. And that was something, actually, in terms of the conversations with Alex and I, he was definitely not on board with homeschooling at the beginning. Yeah, did not want.
He probably heard what I heard growing up, which was like weird, alienated farm children.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, with a really long skirt.
Yeah.
And It's so funny because he was a like private school lacrosse like frat star, like SEC, and he married the homeschooled like theater kid horse girl.
Yeah.
I was like, if you told him that at 15 years old, he probably would have died.
Yeah.
Genuinely, like, what is my life? But he knew, I knew, so that's kind of an interesting thing. We weren't exactly aligned when we first started dating, but the values were there. So he was like, oh, I'm not really interested in homeschool because homeschoolers, I mean, I've heard weird stuff. And he was like, but I don't want my kids in public school because, the system is designed against them. And so we had all of the facts and the understanding, but his solution was, he went to a private school. He was like, well, just send him to a private school. And then the conversation merged to, okay, well, what about a hybrid if they're at home with us a few days a week, but then they do get to go in and do sports or whatever. And then over the course of 2 years, he was like, they're not touching any school. I want them home. And he's really excited about it now. But the values were there and the conversations were all so productive and I was willing to bend and flex. But that's a really high priority and something that we've, again, talked about since the very beginning. So it was like, how can we structure our life to make sure that that is doable? And again, he's done that and it's been, the greatest thing that happened to him career-wise. So it's it's really positive. I think it just shows that when you orient your life to things that are objectively good, like you'll be rewarded in that sense. When you take risks and you bet on yourself, that's just a net positive, which is something that I'm, trying to jump into right now, but it's definitely
100%. Yeah, you're going to be fine. Like, no, it'll be like amazing. It'll be amazing. I'm excited for you. Yeah.
It'll be fun.
I didn't end up signing, like I had a few offers to sign with people for the podcast and I was just like, but I'm fortunate because I've always been kind of doing it on the side of other things. So I was never like, I don't know. I don't want to work with anybody.
Yeah.
Like really. I'm too difficult to work with. Like it was that.
Self-awareness is good.
Yeah. I was like, you don't want to work with me. I don't want to work with you. No one wants this. Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. So did he just watch what was going on in schools for a couple of years? And then he was like, maybe private schools also have the same problem.
I think that, and then also getting to know me. And I have so many friends that are homeschooled. And he just started to, because he didn't know any homeschoolers.
Yeah, okay.
And we're much more, my circle is made up of a lot of homeschoolers. And so I think he continued to meet more of us and realized like, you're all really impressive and you're very smart and you have really, really interesting careers. And I think that changed his mind as well. But yeah, definitely just understanding the school systems more and that a lot of private schools are not exempt from it. And so many families have to do something other than homeschooling and it's not doable for a lot of people. And I've never wanted to shame people for doing other things. And I think those parents are very careful with where they send their kids and they're very involved because of that fact. And so I know that there are great schools out there. I think that they're just few and far between and the system is still set up against them. They're going to have to be fighting that all the time. And so he knows that that's out there, but on a whole, he was like, if we have the opportunity, if we can set up our life to be able to do this, like why wouldn't be? And I also think the thing that changed his mind and so many other people's minds is that, I don't even know how many years ago, 15 years ago when I started homeschooling, there was barely anything. There was like one, I lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee. There was one co-op, like homeschool group in the entire city. We had to drive super far away from it, and it was weird. It was like very, very odd, really, really small. And my mom was like, this is not going to be your people. We're going to do our own thing. And so
those were the people I'd heard about.
Exactly. Yeah. She was like, okay, you're not going to be that homeschooler. And so I was like, so she basically created this, program for me where she designed the curriculum. She took all these books from, classical education, school curricula, and had me in basically every single extracurricular under the sun, where I was dancing, I was in gymnastics, I was singing, I was doing theater, I was volunteering at church. She ran a nonprofit. For most of my childhood, I would go work at the nonprofit and run events. Anyway, it was just a very, very engaged and hands-on homeschooled experience, which I think that makes the difference between the homeschoolers that are the stereotypes and the ones that kind of break through those, is that we were highly socialized in a very dynamic and intentional way. And the statistics actually show now that homeschoolers are more well socialized. they test higher, they're being recruited by Ivy Leagues, all this stuff, but the socialization aspect is really what people care about and look towards. But when you're homeschooled, you're not, if your parents are doing it right, you're not going to be in this one class with the same group of kids who are the same age, who are from the same district area, whatever. It's like I had friends from all different backgrounds of all ages. I was interacting with adults at a very, very young age, thanks to my mom's work and the things that I would do. I had so many friends. It was like overwhelming, like my social life when I was, 8 years old.
Yeah,
and I could talk to a tree. And I was so social that I think it was like weird to other kids who were my age, because it was like, how, like, all these people and you're doing all these things, but it was just so second nature to me. And so by the time that I was an adult, when so many of my good friends, who had gone up through the traditional school system, were just starting to apply for jobs, were going to colleges, that kind of thing, and they were having to interact with adults and go through interviews and that sort of thing, it was totally out of their element, because they just hadn't had to interact with adults who were not teachers or their parents. And for me, I was just so comfortable, so adept, so flexible. And I think that's the social advantage. Like, you might not have normal socialization. You might not have school socialization and be around like your best friends for, 12 years. And that's one thing that I feel like I not missed out on, but it's one of the things that as a kid I was bummed about. It's like everybody has like their high school friends, and they have their friends that they were in school with from K to 12. And I didn't have that. And that's one form of socialization for sure, but mine was just so diverse and all over the place. And I think it served me really, really well and made me flexible. So I'm grateful for it.
No, that sounds good. I went through the traditional school route, but I changed schools so many times that, because we moved a bunch, and then, I don't know, I went from like elementary school to middle school. I just chose a different middle school than everybody I knew. Okay. And then with high school, it was the same thing. And I remember in high school being like, I have friends in my neighborhood who've known people for 12 years. Yep. Like, why do I keep like bouncing around to like 5 or 6 different schools? I knew a lot of people. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not friends with any of them except for one. So it didn't make any difference anyway. Yeah.
But you were able to be resilient and land on your feet, which I think even if it's a bit uncomfortable, is better. That's one thing I think that my mom did that was very unconventional, is that we didn't live in the same place for my entire childhood. We moved around a lot. I was like constantly jumping back and forth between like LA and Chattanooga, and we lived in Washington and all of this, and I was homeschooled. And she did the same thing for my brothers, who are 12 and 14 years older than me. And they were constantly moving to different schools. She was trying new things for them. They lived in different places, and it was intentional. She was like, I never want my kids to be risk averse and too comfortable.
Interesting.
It was like she wanted like borderline, like I don't want my kids to be uncomfortable all the time. She was like, I want them at a very young age to be able to make new friends, land on their feet, be resilient, not need to be in like the 4th grade soup to feel like, they have a sense of self or confidence, like they can go anywhere and know who they are, be able to make friends. And that was her entire reasoning behind it, which is I learned that later on. I was like, that's why you did this? Like, that's why we were constantly on the move.
Wow.
And it's so interesting that she thought about that. I mean, that's why
I know that's way outside the box too. Cause people say, like, I've had some mom guilt because I moved around so much when Scarlett was, so she's 7 now. And I moved a lot, like every year. But the part of me was like, she makes friends quickly. Yeah. Like, and she's not scared of going to new places. Isn't that part of the benefit? Like, you want some friends and you want some stability. And like, we have more stability here. It was pretty unstable before. Yeah. But I was like, as long as she's fine, then I think that kind of lifestyle, it could easily be beneficial. Yeah, like, maybe some kids can't handle it, but like, it seriously grows resiliency, which is huge.
And I think complementing that with a parent that is engaging in those conversations and kind of saying like, hey, this is why it's a good thing. I think it's very different when you're just like dropped and you're like, figure it out. Yeah. But where you have a parent that's like, hey, this is like a great opportunity for you. And look at all these friends, and it's like constantly encouraging your child in that regard. That made it so I was very self-aware of it at a young age. I was like, oh, this is like different than everybody else, but really cool. And that's a fun thing about me as like 10-year-old Brett.
Yeah.
So special.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so she'll be great.
Okay, cool. And she's moving. Oh yeah, you're getting pretty organized.
Yeah.
You're getting pretty organized. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot's changed. When was the last time we did the last podcast? Was that 2 years ago?
I think so. It was 2022.
Okay, wow.
Coming up on probably 3 years. But
Yeah, 3 years. Wow. Yep. Okay, well, I'm excited for your channel.
Thank you.
You have like 400,000 already,
it's
basically,
crazy.
right?
We haven't posted it yet.
I think you're gonna be okay.
I think we'll be okay. It was. I mean, it's like It's definitely nerve-wracking, but it's also...
Yeah, that must have been nerve-wracking after spending that long growing. Like, that's nerve-wracking.
I think the best thing that I can take away from it is... And it's interesting because I feel like I go through these periods every few years. I have to like take a big risk and like revive that part of myself. Because I've told the story before, but Daily Wire had slid into my DMs. And they were like, we want to do a show and we think you're really interesting. And I was terrified. And I almost didn't even send in like a tape. They wanted me to like react to a story and kind of talk through obviously my values and that sort of thing. They were vetting me. And I had the video recorded and I was terrified. I was like, I can't do it. And I had just moved to my mom's farm. And I was I was just like out of practice because I was an actor. And so I had spent 10 years doing auditions and sending them off and getting rejected literally every single day. And because of COVID and the vax, I hadn't auditioned in like a year. And so it was just totally like shut off. Like there was no risk taking. I wasn't building anything. I was not creating. I was literally working as a waitress in Boise and was writing for Foundation for Economic Education and had like a job on the marketing team at Young Americans for Liberty. And it was all great. And I had made good friends and I was, felt like I had a good job, but I wasn't taking any risks and I wasn't reaching what I probably knew could be my full potential, but I was so shut off. And my mom, I was like kind of, sheepishly like, I haven't sent off the tape. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. She basically like grabs my throat and is like, I don't care if you say no and you never want to leave, but you will never get this opportunity again. You're shooting yourself in the foot. Like stop being like a brat about it basically. And I don't care if it doesn't pan out, but you're not taking a chance on yourself. You're not betting on yourself and even trying. And again, I was just out of practice. And so that was like 3 years ago when we built this entire thing. And I think that's how I was feeling again. And that's how I feel in this moment where it's like, I'm 23 years old. We don't have kids yet. We're like recently married. It's like, if there's a time to swing for the fences, do it. And it felt really exhilarating. This entire process has felt really exhilarating for that reason. Cause it's just like, I'm like, it's been like adrenaline 24/7, but in a really, really great way. And I think it's just a good character building. Should do it every couple of years. Just take a big risk.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think it's good. You're going to be fine. Like a whole bunch of opportunities going to come that couldn't present itself earlier.
Yeah.
It's going to be super fun. And having your own channel is great.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And you have it already. So that's fantastic. Wow. Okay. Well, good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Do you think you're still going to delve into politics?
I think so. That's, politics and culture is so intersected now. I don't think that there's a way to unravel them. And I think when you're somebody who is so principled and is driven by your values, there isn't a way to separate them, even if you wanted to. And I think that it's important for people, especially young people, to understand where politics touches every single aspect of their lives and impacts every aspect of their lives, even in, and that was the basis of comment section as well, of like, politics even touches your TikTok trends. And it impacts the way celebrities talk to you. It impacts the content that you see. It impacts your school system. And so you need to have the tools to be able to unpack that and analyze it and at least understand it, because you can't, get away from it. I think it would be a net negative on society if you could shield yourself from, opposing, positions or hide from politics. You need to be aware of what's impacting you, but you have to be able to break it down so you're not just taking in these subliminal messages, not understanding them.
Yeah.
And so I think that'll always be a part of what I do because I think it's important. I'm excited to be able to reach across the aisle more too, and I think that this is like the perfect time to do that. Like there's never been a time, at least in my life, when people are so willing to listen and have conversations. There's so much excitement about this like next golden age with what people were talking about. And hopefully it comes to fruition, but it just feels like a great time to have those conversations and bring even more people in. You're
way more positive than me. I'm having trouble with this actually. Okay. And I know it's wrong because you're like, but I'm still harboring, I think after what my family went through, I'm still harboring like resentment, which resentment is just toxic. So I know that's bad for me, but like I see some people, we're going to throw the young Turks under the table being like, oh, we've realized we've been lied to. And I'm just like, screw you, kind of. Like, it was obvious 4 years ago, and then you spent 4 years insulting and alienating everybody, and now, suddenly now it's fine and everyone can be friends.
Yeah. It's walking this
I don't know.
fine line.
Like,
I know.
I need some apology or something. Yeah. Like, that was bad. Those were bad years.
They were awful. And I think it's like walking that fine line, like you said, of like getting some kind of apology of like, yes, this was so wrong and so bad and we did terrible things, but it's like I never want to say like you're not allowed.
No, I know.
And so it's like finding that balance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand the resentment is, and especially with what you and your dad went through, what he's still going through in Canada.
Oh, Canada's still a mess. I've got great faith in America. And I know Canada always, like the nice thing about America is Canada always follows suit. Mm-hmm. It takes like 2 or 3 years, although they're having an election in 2025. Mm-hmm. So that's like right away. Yeah. But they always follow suit. So if America figures its shit out, then Canada's going to be fine.
Your dad's going to be like, I'm leaving Arizona, I'm going back.
He likes it here. He likes it here a lot. But I don't know. I also totally understand. Like I have a lot of liberal friends in Canada that were totally brainwashed. Yeah. And I get that. Yeah. Like I do get being brainwashed. It's the people that were like, you should have known better. Like there must have been a part of you that knew what was going on. Like it's different if you're like a housewife or stay-at-home mom, or even like a dude that has a job or something. You're surrounded by other liberal people.
But when your job is to be engaged and be involved
in politics, that's your job. Yeah. And you're like a middle-aged person and you have a huge channel. Yeah. Like think.
Yeah. And that's my opinion on that. Like you're allowed to have different opinions and I don't care if you think differently, but it was the vitriol and the attacks.
It was that part.
Yeah.
Just so mean.
Yeah. Constantly.
Yeah. So that's how I'm feeling. Even dad was like, should we reach out? I was like, I was like, yeah, probably. I guess that's what a good person would do.
Yeah. Like, fine.
Yeah. Whatever. It should be good.
He's always leading the way. He's being a good moral compass.
I know. He is. It's fine, I'm sure. I'm not mad at very many people. I think I'm mostly annoyed at the people that really, really went after my dad. And so it's like not exactly on my behalf, which I think makes it worse. Because if it's like against you, you can be like, whatever. Yep. But if it gets somebody you love, then you're like, I remember. Yep. I remember. For sure. It's fine. Are you excited? Are you going to go to the inauguration?
I think so, yeah.
I want to go.
I'm very pumped.
It's going to be huge.
It will be.
There's balls and things. I've been invited to like, I was like, oh, that's like a huge party. I want to go to that.
It's crazy.
I'm Canadian. I'm just going to like sneak in there.
I feel like I'd have to experience it. Yeah, I didn't even have plans yet. And then right after, the election, I was like, flights booked, hotel booked. I was like, I don't have a plan.
Oh, you got a hotel and everything.
There. Yeah.
That was smart.
I had to claw my way into a hotel.
I believe that. Apparently they're booked out for the next inauguration too.
Really?
Yeah.
That's wild.
I guess that's just what happens in America.
I guess.
I don't think we have that I'm not used to it at all. I don't think we have that in Canada. No one cares. Like, you were talking about how young people need to know how politics touch every aspect of their life, which is so important, especially when you go to public school and you're like, that's ideology, that's not education. I remember when I grew up, it didn't matter who was in office. Like it didn't matter. It may have made more difference in America who was in office, but in Canada, it really didn't make a difference if it was conservative or liberal. So you just didn't really care. Yeah. I was always kind of anti-conservative because they were like old uptight white guys. And I was like, you don't want to do anything fun. Yeah. But it literally made no difference to anybody on the ground. It's definitely making a difference now. Yes. It's destroyed Canada. Yeah. So I think maybe that's partly why they got hit so hard too, is because everyone was used to it being stable. We didn't have like, even neighborhood violence and stuff, that was for America. Like America has that. They have school shootings. That's not in Canada. We're fine. And then it just like you get snuck so comfortable. You get comfortable and you're able to tune it out. And I think that's one thing that I would like warn young people about is like, if the next 4 years are great, that's awesome. I want them to be great. And we should be able to revel in how amazing this is and the fact that things are cheaper and we're flourishing and we feel safer and more secure. That doesn't mean that you take your foot off the gas. That doesn't mean that you become complacent and stop caring and stop being civically, engaged. Doesn't mean that you stop caring about what's going on at your local community. It's like you should care more because the other side's going to be angry and, ready to fight back. But I think those are the periods when, complacency obviously happens and they're able to, whatever we want to call it, cause corruption and chaos and pull the rug out from under us. Yeah. It never stays good forever, right?
No. There's always going to be fighting at some point.
Yeah.
So it's the cycle of, hard times create good. It's we're in it right now. Never ends.
But maybe this is a good period. I've got faith.
Good.
I think it's going to be good. So is your recommendation, do you think, for people your age, like when you're talking to friends, do you usually encourage them to like find someone, settle down?
For sure.
Not necessarily settle. You know what? Settle down was part of the problem.
Yeah.
Like, right? Because it isn't settling
I don't
down.
like that word
it's
for
not
it anyway.
doing hookups. Like specifically, that's what it is. It's not settling down.
And settling down does sound like
sounds bad.
Negative.
Yeah.
And
slowing down, everything turns off and your life is over.
Exactly.
Settling down.
And there is an aspect of it where you do like emotionally slow down, which is really nice, and you become very comfortable. And again, especially like as a woman, my nervous system was like, ooh, and that's great. But that gives you so much ammunition to go on and do great things in your life and to build great things. And whether that is like starting a business, just doing well in your job, or whether that's having kids and creating such a great life, it just gives you such an important foundation to grow off of. And that word settling down just does not encompass it at all. But I think, advice when I'm talking to my friends is find that good significant other who is going to build with you and grow with you, whatever that looks like, and don't delay it. I think that I have a good friend who she had a very specific goal of a place that she wanted to live, and she wanted to move abroad, and it had always been like, I want to check this off. I want to do this. And I really admired her because a lot of people around her were getting married and dating, and she was like, and she was young at the time. She's still young, but this was a few years ago. And she was like, I'm going to keep my eye on the prize, and I'm going to get there, and I'm going to meet a person there because I want my life to be in Europe. And that's what I'm going to do. And I don't want to be distracted. And I think there's some people that would look at that and go like, oh, you're like putting your career and your own selfishness over it. But she had a very clear idea from a very young age of what she wanted this lifestyle to look like. And she had that idea, and she got there and she met this amazing guy. And it's like, he fit into that puzzle piece, and she's building this incredible life. And she got this amazing job abroad, and she's literally living what she wanted. And so it's that balance of knowing it's such a dance of, what can you do to put yourself in the situation to meet that right person? And you might be there already, and that's great. But if there are things, and this is where, again, it gets into like the girl boss like territory of like, if you just want to like get that career and buy the house, whatever, it's like, that doesn't matter as much. But if there's a place that you need to be emotionally, and if you need to work on yourself and you want to make sure that you have this foundation set so that you're ready to welcome a good person into your life, then focus on that. That's great. And it panned off for her in just a really, really beautiful way. Mm-hmm. But
I think the last time I did a solo kind of Q&A talking about relationships, my advice for young people was work on yourself. Like, you have a bit of time to work on yourself and really figure out what you want. Yeah. And get more secure so your life isn't in total chaos, and then find somebody. Yeah. At least that's what would have, I think, worked better for me. I was brought up knowing that I needed to focus on a relationship, and that was seriously important, and that marriage was really important. And my dad tried to explain these things, that like marriage gives you freedom, which was really difficult to understand before I got married to Jordan. And I was like, oh, okay, my nervous system isn't on fire anymore. And I don't need that because now I can go do other things, just like you said. But I think for people like me, it was important for me to get a bit older. And I'm not talking about old. Like I could have done this younger. But get your life in order. Like get as educated as you want to be, and like be a bit stable so you can welcome somebody in, and you're not pure chaos.
And I think people confuse that with the material achievements. Yeah. And I think that's probably where the nuance is that it's like, I disagree with the idea that you need to have the 6-figure job and the house and the car that you want, and that you've gone on all your vacations and whatnot and XYZ. But I do agree that you need to have worked through a lot of your crap. Yeah. And exactly. So that you're not bringing a lot of that baggage in. And I probably could have done a better job of that at the beginning of Alex's my relationship, but he was so patient and kind about that. But I was very aware of what the issues were and kind of what I was going to bring into a relationship because of my family. So I was at least aware of that and could identify it. But it's again, knowing what you want and where your life is going to go. And yes, having just your stuff together and being emotionally stable so that you're not going to disrupt somebody else's life. That's super healthy. And you should take the time that you need to do that, because then you're not going to be wasting your time down the line with, a relationship that's going nowhere because you're not even in the right mindset.
Yeah, that was perfect.
It's a dance for sure.
That's kind of where I was with Jordan. Fully aware of what all the problems were.
Yeah.
Which is way better than being unaware.
Yes, for sure.
And like trying to deal with them. I also think it's way easier, and men probably have the same experience, but it's way easier if you have someone you can talk through your issues with. If you're not like so traumatized by them that you can't talk about them, but if you can say, hey, this happened. Oh, I'm still upset by it.
Yeah.
Like, can I tell you what happened? Having someone there that'll listen to you, like it makes it so much easier to release than trying to sort it out in your own head.
Yeah.
Like people need people to talk to.
And somebody to identify the patterns for you that you might not be able to see. Or it's like, there are some things that I had no idea that I did repeatedly that were definitely not healthy and didn't serve me at all. Like it's a kind of dichotomy in my personality where in terms of, work and how I am publicly, I'm kind of a bulldog and I'm very outspoken and I don't really care. But in my personal life, and I think it's just because of how my family was, I automatically became the peacekeeper and I did not want to rock the boat. I was like, there's too much chaos. I'm just going to like protect everything. I apologized constantly, like would not let myself get mad at Alex, wouldn't like say, hey, I don't love it when you like nothing. I was just like, I'm so sorry, whatever. And I was so grateful because very early on he was like, you don't need to apologize to me for any of this. Like this is, have you noticed that you are so terrified of even taking a misstep? He was like, you're apologizing for things that I'm not even noticing, that aren't even a problem. And like, you're like the smallest thing of, I had asked for one thing and he had done something else because maybe our communication wasn't as clear. And I was like, I couldn't even bring myself to say that to him because I was just like, oh, he's going to like hate me. I can't rock that. I'm just going to whatever. And having somebody that lovingly and kindly can say, this is what you're doing. This is not healthy. You don't need to do that.
That's so helpful.
And then to also go like, why do you think you're doing this? And it's like, oh, I had no idea that I was going to be bringing this into a relationship. And that it was, I thought this was something I just like did with my parents because it's just like I had no idea. So yeah, it's super helpful to have somebody who can just be on the outside. Yeah.
I did that when I was younger. I like it. So by the time I met Jordan, that was gone. But I definitely did that when I was younger.
Hardened.
Hardened and just like I just don't care at all like about what I say and how it makes anyone feel. Like grow a pair.
Yeah.
Like, but to a point that was maybe not so great. But I don't know. Maybe I'm fine. But
it worked out.
But I had that really badly until probably like 26, honestly.
Yeah.
Where it would be better not to say it if it's going to hurt somebody's feelings. I think I'd been told a lot as a teenager too, like you're mean or you're hurting my feelings when I was just saying something. Yeah. I wasn't trying to be mean. And they're like, that's mean. I was like, I don't understand how that's mean.
Yeah.
It's just, it is what it is. Yeah. And so I kind of shut that part off and which was just not a good idea.
Yeah, for sure.
So I get that.
That's hard.
Okay, Brett. Well, congratulations on your new life and your new YouTube channel. I'm very excited to see what happens.
It'll be great. I'm pumped. It's going to be an adventure for sure.
Yeah, I think it's going to be huge. And that YouTube channel is Brett Cooper.
Yes.
So that should be easy to find.
It's very easy.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for coming out and coming on. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
So nice to see you again.
Yes, and I'm glad to be back here doing this again. It's like a ritual now.
Yeah, again, we'll catch up in another 2 years.
Yeah, for sure.